Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I firstly would like to thank Satish for joining us here. Introducing myself, Venkat, founder CEO of Vinculum. We also have Srini here, who is the Chief Data Officer of Vinculum. And we just going to do a very brief of what Vinculum does. I won't spend too much time on it, but just to set the context, and we'll jump into the Pepe journey. Uh, Part of the journey, a good part of it is with Vinculum, but there are many steps. We would like to touch upon that. So if you, let me just go quickly. We're an omnichannel SaaS software. We've been around. We work with many parts of the industry. Just how we do it, in all the markets that we play, we create a market in a box. What it essentially means is, before we start any market, we have ready integrations to the sales engines, the sales channels, and we integrate into the fulfillment channels. If you look at the first two boxes, these are web stores with whom we are integrated. There are many more with whom we work. Similarly, online marketplaces, global, regional, local, social channels, we work with a variety of them. And so what that does is it gives easy access to sales for the brands. And similarly, if you look at the box 3, those are fulfillment channels in terms of logistics companies, global ones like DHL, FedEx, UPS, USPS, etc., regional ones. The ones you see in the middle, there's some Southeast Asian, some Indian, the bottom is Middle East. It just gives a flavor. We do the same thing in each market. And there are POS systems we integrate with, and ERP systems we plug into, and multiple SaaS tools used by the same customer base, which we integrate with. Now, why we do this is, it gives a seamless flow of data. And we also make it very easy to work with multiple sales and fulfillment channels, and also to be able to create, not worry about tech. So the integration layer comes pre-bundled as part of the subscription. And our software basically sits on top of the integration layer. So it's a platform and a software product. So the integration layer comes as a platform, and you have a series of modules there. But if you look at it, product data syndication and product listing, what in a nutshell means we pull product data, we can make it consistent, and we push it into sales channels. Through the integrations with the marketplaces and web stores, we have a multi-channel OMS and an omnichannel OMS, which means we aggregate the orders and we orchestrate the real time of inventory across the supply chain. So it doesn't matter whether the inventory lies in my warehouse or a third-party warehouse, or it lies in marketplace-led fulfillment, or it lies in own store or a third-party store, or multi-brand outlets or distributors. Irrespective of where the inventory is lying, we can orchestrate real-time view of the inventory. Remember, we integrate to POS systems, we integrate to marketplaces, we integrate to logistics systems. So which means I know where the items are lying. Basis the rules of the company, you are able to orchestrate how you want to run your omni-channel story. Okay, not one story fits everyone, but you can do a central pool of inventory for any channel, and you can allocate as per channel, you can optimize as per channel, you can optimize for promotions and deals or events which happen like the Big Billion Day. So you can actually look at how you want to run your process. The tech actually is very flexible, very modular, and that's essentially what we do. And there is a module for reconciliation. I won't go too much into it, but it just gives you a flavor. So the module 1 and module 2 is the syndication of catalog and the OMS. The second part of it is, see, this is something which is relevant for all D2C brands as well. They, in terms of web store and marketplaces, as the brands are bigger D2C brands and larger brands like Pepe, you would find that they have their own stores, they have their own warehouses. So the WMS, which is useful for both B2B and B2C, and from an omni-channel where there are experiences for fulfillment from store, endless aisle, etc. A lot of modules which we have to facilitate the sale process and the customer experience. So those things come into picture. So that's the kind of customers we work with. Many large brands, traditional brands, D2C brands, and ecosystem players. If you have shopped on Instamart, you have used our system. If you have shopped on Nykaa, you have used our system. If you have shopped on Smitten, you have used our system. So there the entire backend of an IKEA or a Smitten or players like Instamart, etc., is actually running on Vinculum. So we've been around in the industry for a while, and I would say we are one of the top 2 players in the market. So we have a booth here. If you want to know more, please speak to us. Let's jump into the real hero. Our introduction was just incidental. So we'll get into speaking to Satish.
Thanks, Venkat. Am I audible? Yeah. So I'll just start by, Pepe does not need an introduction, but I would just start by saying that Pepe has been in India for almost 40 years now. It's one of the very early denim brands that took popular root in India. When we started Pepe was essentially a distribution-led brand. So we had distributors who sold to retailers, and that was the model that we had for the initial years. But then we moved on to the large format retail stores, and then like Shoppers Stop, Lifestyle, etc. And that became another part of our business. Both of these were heavily B2B, as you would probably imagine. Very B2B centric, partner to partner, different rules, etc. So the warehousing system, order fulfillment systems were all evolving around those lines. Then we started. This we are talking about in the 1990s, much earlier, 1990s and the early 2000 time frame. Then the e-commerce players started coming in.
So we had some 150 odd stores.
At that point of time, we had about 100 plus stores, and we had our own retail network as a place to showcase our brands. So that was the direct access to the consumer that we had. Then we moved on to, then the next step was to look at how do we access the e-commerce channel, and that was growing faster. So players like Myntra came into the market, and and we started selling our product to Myntra on a B2B basis. So that was the next first step that we took. Multiple other.
You still do that? That's still a.
That is still part of our business currently.
Correct,
also.
correct.
Yes. And what we also realized is that that's only one part of it. And then as the marketplace model within the e-commerce companies evolved, we realized that there is a greater play for us to be able to directly interact with our customer through the marketplaces. So the marketplaces started hosting brands, and we started selling through the marketplaces. And that's when we had the requirement for a fulfillment system, for a B2C fulfillment system. And that's when we started using Vinculum for the first time. And thereafter, we set up our own.
So that's primarily because B2C processes are quite different, and you're selling to each other, selling to individual customers.
Correct.
And to have a system which could do both B2B and B2C was definitely not common in those days.
Right. So we actually started with separating our inventory to B2C inventory, B2B inventory. And the B2C inventory itself had its own complications in terms of how do we pick, pack, and send it to the Myntras of the world. So that was our first taste of e-commerce, and it came just in time.
And when was this, sir? Sorry.
This is in the 2012, 13,
14 kind of time.
13, 14 time frame.
So you were already a veteran before COVID.
Yes.
Yes.
So we had started that before COVID, and quite luckily so, because as soon as COVID came, we were one of the categories that was vastly impacted, because all of our physical sales channels closed down, and e-commerce became primarily the only channel that could do some level of sales. So we then set up our own website almost in a record time. We managed to set up our own website, and we started distributing.
And that was on Salesforce.
That was on Salesforce.
Commerce Cloud, yeah.
Commerce Cloud, using Vinculum as a OMS system and WMS system for B2C. We set it up, and we started moving with that. Right now, our D2C is our fastest growing part of our business. It's a pretty robust business right now. Our marketplace business has also grown manyfold.
You sell on all the popular marketplaces, about 9 of them.
We are there in all about the top 9 the marketplaces that are there in the market today.
And more than 10% of your revenue comes from the marketplace channel.
Correct. More than 10% comes from the marketplace channel.
And your growth expectations are possibly very, very high in this sector.
So that is growing at upwards of 50%. That channel is growing at upwards of 50%. Of course, the challenge there is also profitable growth. So we are also looking to balance our growth with or need to be profitable as well. So the point I was making is the evolution happened in multiple stages. So where order fulfillment started, we realized we need to have a common POS. If we want to service orders from the stores, we realized we needed to have
And these
a
are
common
franchisees. You have about many of your stores
Are
franchisee operated.
Correct.
But your POS is common everywhere. So initially it was not the case.
It wasn't common.
Okay.
We started by having multiple POS across franchisees. Then we
Was that a challenge to get the franchisees to change?
it was quite a bit of change management. Some of the people who are involved in it are in the room.
Okay.
So we basically were able to bring all of our retail stores onto a single POS, which we currently have across all our stores.
So 200 plus stores you have today.
200 stores, all of them working on a single POS.
Single POS.
With data available on almost near real time at the central office. So that's a big.
So you know which franchisee is selling how much.
Yes.
And do you also allow movement of stock between the franchisees if someone is running out of stock and
Yes.
things like that?
We do inter-store transfers, like what was mentioned earlier. We do inter-store transfers to keep our stocks available at the right place at the right time. So the omni-channel fulfillment piece of it required us to make all these changes, and those things have actually enabled us to get to a point where we can do this. Of course.
The first step was common POS. I'm sorry, I'm slowing you down a bit.
Right.
Just so that there are some takeaways, right?
Right.
The second piece, you set up a central warehouse for e-commerce.
Yeah, first, as we were doing the common POS, we also set up a part of the warehouse as a B2C warehouse.
This is because you wanted to allocate for different channels separately.
No, the B2B channels have a consumption pattern that is very different from the B2B. So, for example, there are certain products that sell much more in B2C as compared to B2B, etc. So, to preserve the integrity of that, we had two separate warehouses. So even now we currently operate on two warehouses. We then understood that to service a country like India with this geographical spread, one warehouse would not be enough. So then we moved into 4 regional warehouses, and that is when really we found a great improvement in terms of our order fulfillment lead times and reduction in returns, etc. All that came through with that.
And that's where also you looked at us primarily to see how to create a central pool of inventory.
Right.
To be able to fulfill the orders across all the channels. Correct?
So currently what Vinculum OMS does for us is it allows us to take orders irrespective of where the stock is available from a common pool, and then it allows us to route the order to the point of fulfillment. So depending on where the order needs to be fulfilled from, the order gets routed there. The picking, packing and the dispatch happens there, and we don't have to worry about whether the order is going to the best possible fulfillment point at any point of time. It's automated to that extent.
And returns wise, what is the percentage that you see?
So we have returns are of two types. We have RTOs and delivered returns. So RTOs typically range around 8 to 12%, and delivered returns will be somewhere in the range of about again 8 to 10%. So
okay. And the system wise, you are able to capture all this in a seamless way?
Yes.
Across channels?
The returns from B2C channels come through, even the marketplaces come through the Vinculum system, and we are able to accept it, we are able to account for it, we are able to make claims and also do reconciliation with our partners to make sure that the financial accounting part of it also captures the forward and the backward movement both together. So that's been our journey here.
And from the other pieces which may be relevant to the audience is things like endless aisle, which you don't necessarily work with us, but I'm saying it becomes a very interesting part of the customer journey.
Correct. So one use case that we are currently solving is the process of being able to go to one store, and if a particular size is not available, to be able to look up and see which is the nearest store which has that size or the product that you want. So that's another thing that is in progress, endless aisle option. That's something that we are working to bring into play in the very near future. The other pieces that we are looking at is integrating our common pool of inventory across B2B and B2C, and making sure that we have a single view of inventory for all orders.
And that's something we are hoping to help you achieve.
That is something that we are looking at working together with Vinculum to bring it all together into one place.
Well, and if you
Time's up.
4 minutes, no sir?
No, that's for the jury to
Questions?
be
Okay,
asking
one
questions.
last minute. 1 minute.
You can either ask him the question or the jury can ask you the questions.
One
Which
minute,
would you
1 minute.
which would you like?
This is also very relevant.
You're being graded by them, not by him.
Sure.
So which one do you want?
No, I want to ask him and set the context for the questions. Thanks for allowing me to do that. One of the things, sir, from here, as a company like Vinculum, we've been part of the journey of many brands and ecosystem players. Now, what we are trying to do at this point is to move towards helping in the planning, forecasting, and assortment across channels. That's one of the pieces that Srini and his team are building. The other piece is building a whole AI layer. So, Srini, you want to talk a bit of that? The AI layer and what is coming in terms of analytics?
Yes, I think the point to note here is at Vinculum, we have been able to sit across an ecosystem where we have a very large view of what the customers are doing across how the orders are flowing through. And that basically gives us a rich sense of data with which we can basically come with market insights, depth insights in there, which helps us do analysis around at a pin code cohort level, give recommendations when customers come with new product lines altogether, to be able to help them come up with a whole planning forecasting process based on how similar cohorts have performed. It gives them a very early breakthrough and very easy setup to go through here. Then we are looking at far more details around in the demand planning place overall. And pin code analysis is going to be one of the core pieces that we'll build around in that place. On the AI side, I think as we are going towards the merchandising aspects as well, there's so much, I think we heard people talking about AI in the area of creating copies and everything else. How do we ensure that the listings that have been pushed across on the different places are make relevant so that you don't lose on your search ranking and you're always up and fresh in customers' mind? So being able to catch those things that you are losing relevance and helping them with that.
Yeah? We are running out.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sorry, thank you. We can ask questions, sir.
Thank you. Most of the questions were asked by him. So, so I have all the answers. But only one thing I just want to ask to you.
Sure.
Is that now in multiple cases when we integrate with marketplaces, I know Vinculum needs some templatization way of doing that integration, right? If we have to onboard Amazon, if you have to onboard, say, Azio. Are you working on automating that? Because this
No,
is
we have already automated, sir.
Okay,
so what we have, if you look at the PIM is a central repository of product data. So which means we pull product data from any source and we keep a clean copy of the images and attributes. There is a listing module which then transforms the images, the sizes, the backgrounds, the resolutions, the quality of images, etc. the way the marketplaces and web store want it. And if you look at Fossil, for example, Fossil creates content in Bangalore on let's say a Friday. They actually listed on about 68 marketplaces within the next 48 hours. So that means images are getting I'm talking not just India. Japan to New Zealand, about 46 channels are live today. There are another 22 channels they're adding in Europe and US. That means content is created once, images, attributes change as per the language and as per the sales channel automatically. So it's already there. Any
Wonderful.
brand can use it.
Okay.
You can sit in Bombay and go global in 50 countries.
Got it. The next last question is that, again, you are talking about Omni, so we have multiple channels integrated. And we had faced this, that frequency of automation of inventory sync is a challenge. Like all the channels are not getting the synced SKU stock at one point of time, and that was kind of created a lot of returns and cancellations. So have you worked on that part also now?
So multiple things here. All our APIs are push APIs. Okay, so initially when pull APIs were there used to be a latency, which is not there anymore. Now each of the marketplaces are not necessarily on a push API model. I mean, some of the marketplaces are, some are not. So that's something which we have solved for wherever the push APIs are available. The second thing is there is still some small time period which is there for sync, which we are completely crunching. So we are already at a near real time, but things can get even better. You can answer this, sir,
Yeah, so,
in terms of your experience.
So no, There is a minor latency period, but from what it was maybe 2-3 years back, it has improved a lot to the extent where it doesn't really impact our business processes in any meaningful manner at this point.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. And we have a booth here. Anyone wants to see more, please come.
They have got all the answers.